I don't know. Oh, there we are. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cubist.
What?
Oh, Lord. Good God. This is what happens when we are unsupervised.
On?
Welcome to the Cubist. My name is Bill Corey. I am the Cubist, and I'm just going to talk over these jokers because they're going to try and mess with me all night. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the next in our deep dive shows. But first, let's introduce our panel. First of all, victoriously rejoining the show after a little bit of an absence, Mr. Patrick / Over the Hillier. Hello, Patrick. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Yay!
I have been away.
Yes, we have missed you, sir. We're very glad that you're back, and big old grin on your face, feeling better. All is well with the universe. We also have, let's see, oh crap, I had a really good terrible analogy and now I forget it. Screw it. We have Brandon Kemp from the What Did You Play podcast thing. Hello, Brandon.
Screw it. Hi, how are you?
I don't remember. I definitely had something clever I was going to say and I don't remember what it was now. I mean, it probably wasn't all that clever because it's me, but whatever. It was fine. I outdid myself with the Arsenio Hall joke a couple weeks ago. That's what it is. And now I'm screwed. All right. So here we go. Tonight we are going to be doing hello chat room, by the way. I'm going to get into the habit of doing this now. Hello chat room. Thanks. Extra big thanks to everybody that has been watching, that's watching the show live and watches the show live on the regular. We really appreciate it. It's you guys that make this fun. Speaking of people that are watching this live, I know not all of you are Twitter folks. However, I would urge you, even if you are not a Twitter person, to go to look for Cubist Podcast on Twitter. All I'm going to say is that the Cubist Twitter account has been posting links to some YouTube videos that you might want to watch. And if you watch them, all 4 of them, they might lead you to a very specific thing. And if you can come up with what the thing is that they are trying to tell you, you are going to win a fabulous prize. And don't worry, we will keep releasing clues over the next couple days to hone you in on it. But there will be a contest. So you're going to check on Twitter at Cubist Podcast. We will also post things at thecubistpodcast.com. I'll post a blog post with all the links as we go. I just haven't had time over the last day or two. Watch those videos, see if you can figure out the puzzle. It's a sort of a mystery. So, and we have a really awesome prize to give away. So check out Cubist Podcast on Twitter. Look at the videos. You'll like it. But more importantly, let's get into the show. So as always, we are going to start with what we have been playing lately. And Brandon, I want you to go first. And for the first time ever, I want you to talk about a specific game. Normally, I just say, hey, what have you been playing? But I want to hear about Werewords because your daughter was on the pre-show with us and was talking about it a little bit.
But I was going to talk about Before the Earth Explodes.
Okay, so talk about Before the Earth Explodes, and then we're going to come back to Werewords in a minute. That's fine. Go ahead.
Like my daughter leading my...
That's what you get. See, here's the thing.
Well,
I'm going to
let you know how well she described it.
Oh, was it awful?
So we're gonna let you folks in on how the sausage is made a little bit here. Yes, it is my fidget spinner whirring. Sorry. We're gonna let you in on how the sausage is made. Before the show starts, we have a little 15-20 minute sort of pregame where we discuss things. And Brandon always lets his older daughter sit down in the chair and chat with us for a few minutes. And she was talking about Werewords. So yeah, there you go. All right, Brandon, go for it.
Well, I didn't play Werewords this week. That's why I hadn't planned on talking about it. It's like the first week since Origins that we haven't played it. So thank you again, Patrick and Eric Buscemi, for getting that to me. But this week we got in a game from Green Couch Games. Their new upcoming Kickstarter is called Before the Earth Explodes. And I've only got one play under my belt, so it's going to be really short here. What it is, it's a 2-player head-to-head kind of game where you have with a rock, paper, scissors mechanic to it.
Okay.
You are essentially trying to be, it's a race to be the first person with 7, to do 7 damage to the other person, or discover 7 planets, or to do 7 research, to have your research up to 7. And it's kind of this back and forth thing. And you have, each player has a hand of 4 cards. And that's where the rock, paper, scissors comes into effect. You know, like, if I play the A card, it would cancel your B card, and so on, around like that. I will say, just after playing it one time, it is probably the thinkiest Green Couch Games title that I've played since Fidelitas.
Okay.
Which kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting that from him. Because everything kind of has been kind of lightweight and kind of, generally kid-friendly. I wouldn't hesitate to put it in front of maybe any of them in front of Annabeth, who's our 7-year-old. This one I don't think she would touch right now. So, but I quite enjoyed it. We're going to play it some more, and we'll get a preview out there. The Kickstarter is sometime in August, if Jason can be believed, and he has never given me a specific date, but it's coming. This is from Adam and Daryl, who did Sagrada. So there you go.
Cool. All right.
It's got neat little artwork too. I don't know if I can get it on there. I got cards for days. That's really all it is a deck of cards, but neat little artwork for the planets. But that's all the same. I don't know how much they're planning on changing. That's it.
So you have a pretty early copy.
Yeah. Little spaceships.
Nice.
Yep. So
Kickstarter coming next month.
Kickstarter coming next month. We'll preview it on our show a little more in depth than that. Like I said, I just wanted to touch on it because that was the last thing Corinne and I played this week. I mean, we played Vegas Wits and Wagers, but I think we've talked about that before. Other than that, I don't remember what I played. Oh, Terraforming Mars, which nobody wants to hear about. So,
I was going to say, Patrick is the king of Terraforming Mars, and I've been almost as obsessed about it. I think we would.
No, I know. I'm just being a smartass. But yeah, that and Jorvik. But that's what I played this week.
Nice. Very good, very good. Patrick, how about you? Have you played anything lately?
Oh my God, I had a huge week of gaming. We had Wednesday was Zach and I doing First Martians and Akatiri, and then Friday night was our German club. I forget what we played there. Vegas showed Vegas Wits and Wagers and Bonanza and this weird little German game I talked about on the show today. And then what didn't get aired was Saturday. My buddy Chris Funk, who I talk about a lot, had a game day at his house, and we played a bunch of things. But one of the things that we had kind of a weird dynamic group, and we kept merging and then breaking up and merging. We went to the end of the night together with a big game, and I was looking on his shelves, and he just reorganized all his shelves. And he had a game that I'd never played before that maybe you've heard of. It's called Pit.
Oh, Pit. Lord. Yes.
So I was able to knock that off of my list. I actually own it. I've never played it. And we sat down, and I was totally dumbfounded because they had all played it 1,000 times. And I just sat there going, huh? What? I've got one. And all these cards are being passed around me, and then they hand me this crappy bull or bear card or whatever, and before I know it, I'm at like a -100.
Good for them.
So
finally, go ahead.
I was just to say the chat room is responding positively to Pit, which is awesome.
Yeah,
but for
everyone
those
does. It sounds like it's a well-loved game. Yeah.
But for people that maybe haven't played it before, give them a brief 30 seconds.
All right. So Pit is I guess there's one suit per group and per player in this deck, and they range in value like maybe 55 to 100 if you collect them all. And so they're sort of randomly dealt out. So you might have, 2 rye and 4 wheat and 3 barley or whatever in your hand, and maybe a bull and a bear. And you have to take a certain number of cards, and you just hold them out and say, I've got 2 cards. I'm to trade 2 cards with somebody. And somebody across the table says, I've got 2. And then you just trade them, not knowing what you're getting. Sometimes you traded hay for hay or barley for barley. Or sometimes you traded the bad card with one other things because you could trade, the bad thing with something good. And you were trying to collect the full set. And then there's this little bell in the middle, and you ring the bell when you collect the set. And only the person who rings the bell gets any points at all. And then the people who have the bad cards, if they haven't used them as a wild, get negative points. Somebody said here, end of night, or Brandon did. It's end of night. We were yelling and screaming. And as Bill knows, sometimes I get a little foul after a long night of gaming. A few curse words were sworn. And then the one time I did get a set in the whole evening, I went out to ring the bell, and it didn't work. I'm smashing it as hard as I can. It was hilarious. It was a really good time. Not to mention those guys are just great. I mean, I really enjoy Chris and his buddies, and then it's worth the drive across town to play with them. So,
in my opinion, Pit is a extremely simple mechanically game, right?
Yeah.
Like there is very little going on actually in that game. There is the tiniest amount of, I guess you could call it hand management when you decide which set you're going to pursue. So there's about maybe 3.5 seconds of that. And then basically there's just a lot of hand waving and shouting. And probably a bruise that will form right about here at some point over the span of the night when you have smashed that bell, or worse, when you smash the bell and then someone tries to and is a little slower than you, so they smash your hand onto the bell. Did that happen to anybody? Did anybody get it?
I was close. No one ever actually hit it at the same time.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it would not still be playable if it wasn't so fun. Like if it relied on its mechanics, nobody would play it.
So I looked it up. It's from 1903.
I actually have the 1903 version of it, like the game that the Gabbett Stock Exchange. I have that.
Okay.
Which does not come with it is not actually from 1903. Like they did a reprinting of it.
Oh, right. That's the one we had. It said on the book cover, original art.
Yeah, that.
But the cards actually looked like they had been from 19. They were so.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're smashing and grabbing them as hard as you can and smashing them against the bell. And this is not. They're all pretty well worn.
For sure.
It was hilarious.
I bet you $10 that there is somebody out there that has sleeved their copy of Pit. I will bet you.
I went laminated.
Yeah, maybe that. There you go. All right. So on the Cubist scale, Pit, buy it, play it, forget it, or burn it.
Oh, buy it. Yeah. You'd probably get it for like $10,
And that's one of those games that you can pick up at any big box store. They still sell them. Yes. They still sell them in all of them. And it is ridiculous fun. It's so good. I need to play it again. It's been forever.
Yeah.
It's been forever. All right.
Now, somebody in the chat room, who was it? Daniel Newman compared it to Happy Salmon. I would agree. It's probably, you have to play it in the right condition. There was a group, I won't name any names, but they were playing Happy Salmon at Origins at the what the late night thing called Nerd Nighters.
Nerd Nighters.
That's not the best place to be playing something loud and crazy like that. So I don't know. We play. What was that annoying? Was that really loud game we put? Ta-da! I guess we were just as annoying.
Yeah, Ta-da's a good one for that too.
I don't know. Happy Salmon is not my kind of game. Pit is though.
Like Happy Salmon is so fun, so ridiculous.
I haven't played it.
It's not my thing. It is. I definitely understand. This is literally just one of those games where I can recognize that it's a good game that is definitely not for me. Right? Like it's just not my wheelhouse. What is in my wheelhouse, I think, though, is Raxon.
Been hearing a lot about that.
Yep. So I'll be that guy too. I'm all right with that. I talked about this on the What Did You Play This Week podcast thing, but I'll talk about it on here really fast. This is that game with the viral marketing that's been going around. So the only way you can buy it is by getting an invite from somebody that's already bought it. And I've discussed my thoughts on that marketing on What Did You Play This Week. So I will direct you to the Cubist Corner segment on that show if you want to know my thoughts on the marketing thing. Short version, though, I think it's fun, and I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. So, but the game itself is essentially, so it's a co-op. It's the prequel to Dead of Winter. So the idea is it is as the city is undergoing the zombie apocalypse. It's not, everything hasn't gone completely to hell yet, but it's teetering on the edge. And you are playing one of the movers and shakers of the city itself, trying to get the uninfected people out of the city before the infected people overrun it. And that theme basically translates to you're manipulating a grid of cards and then trying to get cards into patterns that you can then safely get the cards out of the grid with. And the idea is you get all the healthy people out before either the infected overrun the city or the Raxon, the company that definitely didn't start the zombie apocalypse with one of their weird chemical things, before they take over. So if the infected take over, you lose. If Raxon takes over, you lose. If you get everybody evacuated, you win. It is, for all intents and purposes, an abstract game with a pasted on theme. but the mechanics are pretty slick because you pick an action, and that action will have consequences. And if you've taken the action, you will then on future actions have to deal with the consequences of previous actions. And the more actions you take, the more consequences will rack up until eventually you personally will be this chain reaction of things you don't want. And at some point you'll have to be like, okay, I've done too much. I've done too much. I need to stop. And you'll bow out of the round. And eventually everybody will do that. The round resets and you start over again. So I've only played once on the introductory level, so I'm not reviewing the game, but my first impression was it was good. I think that this is awesome. If you can get an invite code, it's $40. I think that it is slightly pricey, honestly, for what you get in the box. But the game is solid, and the fact that the website has lots of scenarios and whatever, I think will give it some staying power. I think they're doing some interesting stuff on it. I like it. Yes, Ben, the Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil is an excellent comparison. Yes, it is basically exactly that. So there you go. That's Raxon. I don't know. I know that Brandon's out of codes. I'm out of codes. I don't know if Patrick has bought it yet.
I haven't gotten it. Somebody on the Slack. There's you can get them if you're on the local account Slack or our Slack. There are people that have.
Just ask around. Surely somebody has them sitting because.
When he says our Slack, he means the what did you play this
what did you play? Not the Cubist.
The Cubist Slack is barely existent, but we'll get there.
So. I'm not a Slack person, so
yeah, neither am I. I feel you. So there you go.
Keep dragging
anyway,
back in.
If you use the hashtag Raxon on Twitter, it will not be hard. RAXXON. It'll not be. You'll be able to find somebody that'll have a code. I'll tell you that right now. It's not that hard. So there you go. We'll keep you posted. If we come up with anybody else that has codes to get rid of, we'll try and pass them along somewhere along the way. So there you go. All right, let's get into the main topic because I want Patrick to have lots of chances to yell at me here.
Lots of chances to talk.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, basically, this is going to be the Patrick show for a while here. This is our deep dive episode about the classic game El Grande, designed by Wolfgang Kramer.
Spanish for the Grande.
Yes, for the Grande. Wolfgang Kramer and Richard Ulrich. This thing was originally published in, what is it, 97? I think? 95, sorry. 1995. Artist was Doris Madhouse. We'll come back to that. Published by a whole bunch of people. Rio Grande is the company that published it originally in the U.S. It was a Hans im Glück back in the day, and then it's been published other places. This is one of those games that is generally held up as one of the modern classics, right? Like this is one of the Genesis games, I think, for what we consider modern board games. In my opinion, there are three that I think usually get held up in this realm: Settlers of Catan, Kalis, and this. I feel like those are the three. I mean, maybe there are a couple others, but I think those three are the ones that generally people start with when they're talking about the uber old classic games, right? And then you have Ra and like Goa and a couple others that I feel like came in sort of the second wave. And I might be wrong actually on the timing of Puerto Rico now that I think about it. Puerto Rico might be a little later than this, but
yeah, it's not that old.
But El Grande is back in that Catan era. It is definitely that far back. Elfinland would be another one that was near this time period.
Puerto Rico's 2002. Huh.
It's that new, really?
That's what it says. Yeah, they're just coming up on their 15th, right?
Well, I didn't know. I thought I was older than that, so I guess I was wrong. Carcassonne is 2001. I know that one because, and I know that because I bought it when I was in Essen in 2001. So that was easy. Okay, so let's talk about this. The basic idea behind. I tell you what, Patrick, I'm going to let the person that likes the game describe the basics of how the game goes, because I'm going to have some bias in here and I don't want to be that guy, right? Sure. So basically, how does the game work?
It's a pretty simple area of control game. So you have a group of caballeros, your little meeples, in the modern version, they're little cubes in my version, and they are off in the provinces and a certain amount in the court. So you have kind of two goals. One is to get guys off in the provinces into your court, and then to get them onto the board. And all of the board spaces, I think there's 9 different regions of Spain that score every 3 rounds. And there's little scoring markers on those. And the person who has the most in that area get the first place marker, and then the second place, and then the third place, assuming you're playing a 3 or 4 player game. There's 2 interesting twists. There is a king that moves around the board, and you cannot add or subtract tokens to where the province that the king is in. And when you're placing tokens, generally they have to be in the provinces that touch the province the king is in. And then secondly, there is a castillo, which is like a tower that's out in the ocean, out in the water. And that's like a little hollow tube, and you drop some cubes in it as part of your action when you're placing on the board. When the scoring round happens, that scores as an area of control piece, and then you reveal it, scoring it, and then you get to place those using some little secret discs that have all the regions on them into one of the regions. And that also lets you kind of a last minute take area of control over a spot. So anyway, that just happens over 3 rounds or 9 rounds of scoring, 9 rounds of play, scoring every 3 rounds. So what happens is every round you have 13 cards that are your initiative cards, and those are also going to allow you to move people from the provinces into your court based on the number of them. So the faster you go, the less people you get to move. The slower you go in the turn, later in the turn, the more people you get to add to your court. And then there's some side actions. There's 5 different actions every round, and those change, that allow you to kind of mess up things like move some people around on the board, or move the king, or get one of your cards back. Those vary. There's quite a few different kinds. And you select one of those, and then you move guys out based on how many people are on that card onto the board, trying to manage your area of control, and rinse and repeat. That's one of the things I like about it, is really just kind of the boiled down simplicity of it. You think of, I think of games like No Thanks, or I don't know, I can't think of other games, but there's just not a lot to it, but it still feels like there's a lot of game there.
Okay.
Not that complicated.
Gotcha.
Kathleen Mercury's here. Hi, Kathleen.
Hello, Kathleen. All right. So that excellent summary. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, let's kind of all start with where our baseline is on the game. Okay. So I've been cracking jokes about this all day on Twitter, and for months, perhaps even years elsewhere online, that I really intensely dislike this game. Okay. And we know that Patrick really intensely likes this game. He described a play of this at Origins as being his favorite, right? Like maybe your favorite part of Origins. Brandon, where do you land here?
I land intensely in the middle.
Okay. You are ambivalent to the game?
I enjoy the game. I enjoy the game. I don't get to play it often. We have one guy in our game group who has it, and there's 2 of us who like to play it. And as with most area control games, I'm sure we'll get into this. I don't even know, can we play this with 2 players?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, it says 2. But area control really isn't that great with 2. So
yeah, it's not as good with 2, but it does scale.
Yeah,
a little bit. It's not perfect with 2, but yeah, Jason Dinger and I played with 2 just a couple weeks ago. We got online, and I taught him how to play it. And Jordan and Aaron from Boards Live, we just get on. Boy, does you has it, so it's easy to get online and teach people it.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's, and I want to, first off, I'm going to fess up on some of my dislike of the game.
Sure.
I dislike the game for, I think, 2 primary reasons. Number 1, I think it is one of the ugliest games ever published in the history of games. And that, I know that it does not always bother me if the gameplay is fast. Like if a game is ugly, but the play fascinates me in some way, I can forgive ugly. But here's the second half, which is that it is everything I dislike about board games all in one box. I don't like area control. Okay.
Sure.
I don't like hidden trackable information. The tower that you put the cubes or caballeros in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If somebody has a good memory, there's no reason they can't remember how many things are in there, which means it might as well not even be a hidden thing. And
online, it's not, just to let you know.
Okay. So online, that would bother me less. In person, that annoys me because I have a terrible memory for that kind of thing. And so I always sort of lose myself in there. Yeah. And here, I do really dislike the look of the game. And so it's got a lot of things I don't like. Now, having said that, I haven't played it in years. So go ahead.
Well, Ben commented that he likes the look of it. I think it's just all relative. It kind of looks like an old map to me, like an old parchment map of it. And one of my favorite restaurants actually just closed, had a big French map that was done in the same way as big art piece in there. And I always loved going there because it looked like it was the French version of El Grande. I don't know what that would be in France. La Grande.
So I'm looking at a picture of the old timey map board myself, and I think I would be okay with the board if it wasn't for the pieces that end up on it. I think it's not just the board. I think it's the fact that you get what. And for the record, I'm going to speak in hyperbole here a little bit because like the clown puke that ends up on the table, just random cubes of a million different primary colors everywhere that end up just making it look obnoxious. It's the same vibe that I always got off of Kingdom Builder, right? Like the map itself is not atrocious until you put all these primary color things everywhere. And there's so much of it that it ends up being visually noisy for me.
No, I understand. Yeah, there's a lot of challenges with keeping track of how many people are in the spots. Jason posted a picture of coming up with ways to mitigate that when he was playing it with his wife.
Yeah, and there are pictures of it that definitely show people being more careful, and that might just be like that could just be I had bad experiences with it too. I freely admit that. So all right, so let me ask you this. It's ranked 50 on BGG right now. It is the number 50 game of all time. First off, does it deserve that spot? Like, is it that good still?
I think so. I mean, every time I play it, I love it.
I was going to say, I think if imitation is the best form of flattery, El Grande gets imitated, almost monthly with the next area control game that comes out. And I don't know that many get it better.
Okay, that's an interesting point that I hadn't thought about. Is this the granddaddy of area control?
To me, it is. I don't know
others, but it's the most popular. How about that?
Yeah,
the oldest, most popular.
Web of Power and China are almost this old, aren't they?
Yeah, China
says as he's frantically searching.
Yeah, but I mean, people will talk about Kalis being the grandfathers of worker placement, and there are others that are older than that, but it's really
China's 2005, so don't even worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this has to be. I mean, everything kind of whenever you review, I think anybody who reviews an area control game or ever, this is what you compare it to. It's El Grande.
Okay.
The Grand.
Yeah, Spanish for the Grande. I got it. There you go. Very good. So my question then becomes, haven't we done better than this yet? Because, and this like, okay, so I really like Kalis. Kalis is still on my shelf. Okay. But I like it. I freely admit that I like it for nostalgia's sake, not because I think it is the best worker placement game out there. It's not even the best worker placement game on my shelves. Right. Like, and I admit that there are a lot of other worker placement games that are better than Kalis. Kalis is still fun, but and I'm sorry, I need to back up a little bit. Daniel asked me if I'd played Quebec or Stopper Dynasty. I have not played either.
I've played Quebec. Remember
that? Isn't that another one with a clown puke board?
Yeah, it wasn't terribly pretty.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know. That came from my hatred of Kingdom Builder.
Maybe it's an area control thing. I don't know. You got to have the map and you got to have things stand out.
Yeah, and I get that. I don't know. Okay, so but
that's my whole point, though. Is it just still works.
It does,
and it doesn't have to have any added layers of gobbledygook on it.
We didn't have to have the miniatures like they threw in Blood Rage, which has long been sold, but yet I still would rather play Grande before Blood Rage. You don't have to have the fancy art or whatever, like the new one, Ethnos and things like that. It works.
Okay. Ben is asking in the chat what is it about area control that I don't like? And I think this is actually really hard for me to define. I'm not entirely sure why I don't like it. I think part of it is the fact that in general, I don't like passive aggressive conflict, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're going to play a game where there's going to be direct conflict, I better be able to blow your stuff up. Like Eclipse is fine, right? Like if I can march my ships in there and literally shoot at your ships and blow you up to take things from you, I can cope with that. But passive aggressive, oh look, now I have 6 and you only have 5. Nah. Just grates on my nerves to some weird level that I cannot I think that's part of it.
Sure. I mean that's in modern games, that's the difference between Kemet and Cyclades.
Yeah. Oh, and I've never played either one of those, so I can't speak to that.
Well, you're a Kemet. You sound like a Kemet guy, and I'm a Cyclades guy, and we'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I like that every time I mention Eclipse, everybody has to drink, Daniel. I support the idea of there being a Cubist drinking game. Everybody, we should each have one. Okay, so Patrick's is Terraforming Mars. Mine is Eclipse. Brandon has
Werewords.
No, that'll only be like 2 more weeks, and then he will have forgotten about it.
That's true.
Okay, so Eclipse. I'm kidding. Eclipse is not. I would not see. I don't think of war
Brandon's
games.
Is Carcassonne.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
I don't think of war games and area control games as the same thing. And to me, Eclipse is a war game. It's not an area control game, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference, right? Do we agree?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it's an area control war, but it's a war. I mean, yeah, you're building up armies and moving in and battling for area in a different way.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I don't know if Risk is actually a great comparison here, because Risk is sort of straddles the line between the two, right? Like Risk is a war game. It's just there is no.
Right. The difference is in those games, you're taking away the other people's stuff. And these in Grande, you're not. You're only adding to yours to get majority.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference between Risk and
Eclipse. Yep. I would say that's the difference between a war game and an area control game, in my opinion. Is area control games are generally everybody's just adding. You aren't generally directly impacting another person's board position. You are just getting a superior board position in general.
Now there are cards that allow you to manipulate that, but it's not in a big way.
But it isn't the primary focus. Whereas a war game, the primary focus is to use your units to remove another person's units in order to achieve dominance. I don't know.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And that's why I like that. I'm a passive aggressive player. So
gotcha.
A subversive player, we prefer to be called.
Subversive?
Yes.
Okay, but is that it, right? Like, I mean, is that the line in the sand? That's why you prefer that sort of game? Because you like that passive aspect to it?
Generally speaking, yeah. I'm not a super I'm just never been really good at the super aggressive war games.
My girlfriend Molly would disagree with you, sir.
Okay. Sometimes I just get lucky.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so
no, I'm not bad at them. I'm not just
there's a time and place for it, but most of the time, yeah, I'd prefer to have the kind of passive aggressive stuff rather than I'm just going to go straight at you and try to take you off the board. I'd prefer to think around you and come up with a way to get you out, and you may not see it coming. But that may not be good either, because you can do that in war games too. So who knows?
Okay.
I agree with you. There's a huge amount of nostalgia for this game too. This is my old guy game night game. This isn't hotness game night.
Well, and there is something to be said for games that nail a specific mechanic, right? Like there are some games out there, like it would be hard to argue that Dominion isn't the best deck builder that exists. It is the grandfather of deck building games. And as far as replayability and sheer flow play goes, Dominion is probably the best mechanically that exists, right? Like everybody else is still kind of dipping into that pool, trying to figure it out, even if we don't like it, you know? I don't know. It's just, I feel like just being the grandfather of a mechanic isn't good enough anymore. You know, like we've come a long way. I
still like Dominion. Like Dr. Jim and I played Dominion once a couple weeks ago or a month ago, whatever. And it was just like, it's like, you know, putting on an old pair of shoes. It's like, oh, you know, when it's just, you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I really liked the El Grande game at Origins. It was 5 people who really knew this game well. And so we really knew what we were doing, and we, you know, it's different than.
Oh, well, that's always better, right? Like anytime you can just sit down and play a game with people that already know how to play and are really good at the game, and then you can just dive into the game itself.
Right.
I think that's always a better just experience.
Yeah. And that's the way every one of my El Grande games is almost, because it's with guys I've been playing with for 5 or 10 years, the same games. Throw away those old shoes. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, that's Daniel. I think that's a solid comparison. An old comfy pair of shoes is great until it's too old, and then it gets replaced by something that's better. I agree.
I'm going to buy the big box pretty soon.
Yeah. Of El Grande.
Yeah.
All right. And all right. So let's move past the nostalgia part of things and the benchmarking and grandfathery bits. Let's talk about what the gameplay itself, what are its strengths, do you think? Like as far as gameplay goes, you talked about its simplicity. What do you mean by that exactly? Because it's not that simple, is it? I mean,
well, I mean it's simple in that, you know, you pick an action card, right? And you've only got 13 of them, and you can't duplicate what everybody else is. So there's not really a lot of there's choices, but you know, there's not that many choices. And then you go in order, and there's only 5 different action cards to choose from. And those are pretty straightforward as to what you're going to do with them. You know, the higher the number, you're going to get more guys out on the board and get more area control, but the lower ones might give you more options to move some things around. And, you know, it's just rinse and repeat. You know, do an action, take an action card, and put some guys out. And it's just kind of quick and simple.
Okay.
It's always tight. You know, it's always what do they call it? There's a knife fight. It feels like, if you really know what you're doing, you're going back and forth, taking area control. There's some strategy in that, you know, scattering yourself all over the place, getting a couple points everywhere instead of fighting over one area. Things like that.
That hand management, it is really, really tricky at times. So I think part of it is it's a simple game to teach or to learn, but that hand management is where you're going to get your wrenches thrown at you, and you're going to have to figure out what you got to do and when you have to do it with that. Yeah. And I don't know.
So I have a question then. I do not think in my so I probably over the lifespan of this game played maybe 10 times. Which is a surprising number for a game that I don't like, but it's the kind of game that got pulled out a lot early on because there just wasn't a lot of variety, right? Like there weren't a lot of games that people didn't have 500 game collections, right? So you had like 30, and this was one of the games that got pulled out. So I played it a lot early on, and I knew pretty instantly that I didn't like it, but I played it a lot. I do not recall thinking that this was a particularly simple game. I also didn't play it enough that I ever got smooth with the flow of play, but I don't recall thinking it was simple. BGG, the user base, has it ranked as a 3.08 on their complexity rating. That seems high for a game that both of you have come out the gate saying is simple and just flows. right? Like that seems like the user base does not necessarily agree with that assessment. So what I'm curious about is, and here's the deal. As much as I joked about how I'm going to hate on this game, I don't want people to, this is definitely one of those games that I know is a good game that is not for me. So let's be clear on that. I recognize that this is a well-designed game. It just isn't my bag. So what is it that makes this game feel more complex to the average gamer, do you guys think? Do you think?
Well, I mean, I guess part of it is, I know all the cards in the deck, right? So I know what's going to probably come out and how to prepare for them, where a new person may not and would get surprised by things.
This is what I call the Twilight Struggle conundrum.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good one. It's a good comparison.
Which I also hate.
So maybe I'm terrible at that too. There's probably more to it. I guess that's the thing is it's hard after so many plays of so long of playing this.
The rules just aren't that hard. They aren't difficult.
Right.
It's all in the strategy of playing. It's
I guess
that's where the weight comes from.
Yeah, there's a depth to it.
And I think BGG overinflates things sometimes for their weight. I wouldn't hesitate to teach this to just about anybody. I'm not going to, just because it's so long, I'm not going to sit and teach it to, like 8 and 9-year-olds. I'm not going to do that to myself. But I think anybody can handle a game of El Grande, even just taking the simple way out and not doing the final scoring or whatever the short version is. But I don't think it's a 308 weight-wise. Strategy-wise, sure.
Okay.
Learning-wise, no.
Right. Well, and this makes me wonder, right? Like if maybe this is a flaw of the way that BGG is formatted, and not to hate on BGG at all, but I think this is one. And Daniel in the chat brought up that maybe weight ratings are given before more recent heavier games were released. So as an example, El Grande existed before any Splotter games did, right?
Yeah.
So like if El Grande and Food Chain Magnate were released in the same year, would we still see El Grande be a 3+? I think I agree. That's probably that, and it comes down to people rate games and then never come back and revisit their ratings.
Correct.
People rate things, and I think that's just kind of so I will freely admit that anytime BGG gives you like a rating, whatever, there is an inherent flaw, just because of the nature of how that works, just the way that the user base uses it. So, okay, so let's talk about the depth. You guys have said that there is so much depth to the game. Is it just because of that deck of cards and knowing what the cards are going to be? Is that the primary source of it?
I think there's some depth in knowing when to give up on areas and when to move your strategy around, the depth of when to switch your turn. So like when I play, I like to, and I'm going to give away my strategy if I ever play anyone here, but early, there's 3 phases before you score, right? So like I always like to take low cards early on, fill up my court, and then closer towards the scoring, I take control of the king, get the king where I want it, and start getting control of the board closer to the scoring round. So I can put people out where I want them to be once I've got the people in my court. So there's a strategy there that I've learned over time. And then the strategy I said of learning to go all over the board and not just concentrate on a small area, get 1 or 2 points everywhere. Those sorts of things I've just learned over time, over losing lots of times in this game.
How many plays do you think you have, better. Patrick?
I don't know.
Ballpark. 100?
20, 25. Not that many. No, I don't have 100 of anything.
Okay. I was just curious. It's an old enough game that it's very reasonable that people could have 100 plays of it. That's just curious. Okay, cool. So it's more of a finding the rhythm of the game, something where you this is okay. And there are definitely games where rhythm is a big deal, right? Like the one that I always think of that if you can't figure out the rhythm of the game, you will never be good at is Sulk in the Mayan Calendar. If you can't understand the rhythm of how those gears turn and get your brain around that entire game is lost to you. And maybe games that have timed scoring rounds, I think always have that. Like anytime a game has a set, you're going to be scoring in this amount of time, prepare for it. Always has that ebb and flow, right? Like you have to prepare for the scoring at a certain time. And if you can't get your brain around that, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So is that's sort of what we're talking about here with El Grande?
I think so.
Okay. And how, and yeah. Yeah, Tzolk'in is the other one that could be a drinking game, by the way, for me, Daniel. So
yes,
there you go. That is another one that I always bring up. I get that.
We'll give that one to Sean, the Dukes of Dice.
Oh, there you go. That's fair. That's fair. All right. Why haven't we? So El Grande big box exists, right? This is and this has just all of the little mini expansions that were released over the years for it, right? Because if I recall correctly, they did like small expansions every year or something for, I want to say like 5 years after the game was released or something. And
well, let's throw out it got the STJ in '96. So when a game gets that, obviously they're gonna start pumping out stuff to cash in on that, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. But well, let's see, that would be the Carcassonne conundrum.
Yeah.
As soon as expansions for days or Dominion or any other game. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Brandon, how many games of El Grande do you have in?
Well, I was going to say 5, but according to my tracking, I have none. So I know I've played it at least 5 times.
Gotcha. Okay. What do you think is there a specific part of El Grande that is the part that just does it for you? Because you played a lot of games 5 times, right? It's not just the comfort.
No, with El Grande, I like area control. I like games with area control, and I like games that and I like the hand management in this, where I got to know when to play. I got to know when to hold them, when to fold them. But I got to know when to play the cards and when it's going to best do what I want it to do. And it never does, but it's one of those games where I continually think when I play it, I could get better at this if I played it more.
Oh, do I know that feeling really well?
And I enjoy it enough. And I enjoy it enough to play it, more. But I don't have a group that wants to play it more because my group doesn't like sitting for 2 hours playing one game. So I need to play it online with Patrick more often.
The game that I felt that way about for the longest time was Tigris and Euphrates, which, by the way, that is the 3rd game in that trifecta of the old-timey modern classics, I would say. Even though Tigris and Euphrates really isn't the grandfather of anything because it's just sort of its own animal entirely. I think that's... That feels like the other one. Yeah, Tigris was that game for me where I felt like there's got to be a way for me to get better. I know that
I still haven't figured that one out.
At the time I was working for Mayfair Games, who published it, and so we would go to the conventions and we would sit and play Tigris with like Larry Rosny and Bob Carty and the guys that ran the company, and I would just get owned. Not even kind of losing by a little bit. I might as well not even be on the board. I might as well not be here. Here's some tiles for you guys to score off of. Have a good time. No clue. But yeah, okay. But you still get your butt kicked and you still like it, Brandon?
Yeah, I do. Wow. Like I said, when a game leaves me feeling like there's something that can be dug into and something where I get that glimmer of hope, I'll keep playing it even if I suck. And El Grande does that, and it does it in a way that I don't know. I just don't think many other games can do it this way anymore and make you feel that.
Okay. All right.
I just don't.
I gotcha. All right. So let me ask you this: how does hidden trackable information only bother me?
Of us 3, I think so.
Am I the only one that it makes crazy?
Well, yeah, I guess. No, it doesn't bother me because I forget about it too, but I don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that part makes me nuts because that feels like the middle finger in that game, right? That feels like the part where somehow that's where I always got screwed is because somebody else.
Do you guys not talk at the table?
No, we do.
I mean, we always, we don't help each other, but, we'll throw stupid little hints at somebody who looks lost and say, well, maybe there's, it's not, geez, we don't play that mean. On your own.
Well, and I think it's the people that when I was playing, because I haven't, like I said, I haven't played it in years. And the group that I commonly played it with before had a number of people that are not the most socially wonderful folks in the world. Like, not folks that I would choose to spend time with outside of gaming, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think there's definitely something to be said for that. And I have definitely become more of I would rather game with people that I like than just game. Like I've definitely progressed to the point where now I would rather not game than game with jerks. And I was not at that point back then. So that's probably part of it as well. By the way, Kathleen, you're welcome. Yeah, no. Yeah. And so, and here's the thing. I don't want to mislead people into thinking that I only enjoy games that I win. Okay. Because that is not the goal. But
Ben says you win too much.
Well, that's just because Ben's bad at games. That's different.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Kind of. No, I don't care about winning and losing as long as I don't lose through my as long as I don't lose through my own stupidity. Like, I will be angry if I did something dumb that I know I shouldn't have done, and then I'm stuck realizing it for the next hour, right? As long as I can't tell what the dumb thing is and I just happen to lose, it's fine. If it's when I'm like, if I had done this 3 turns ago, I wouldn't be screwed right now, that would be bad. So I don't know. Did we lose the feed? Can everybody still see and hear us?
Just Daniel.
Okay, it's just Daniel. Okay, that's fine. It's that New York internet that Eric has to deal with. I'm telling you. All right, there he is. Very good. Yeah. So okay, and so anyway, the reason I'm bringing back the I only hate things when I do something dumb is because that memory aspect is part of the things that makes me feel stupid. Right? Like, I feel like I should be able to remember this and I can't. So then I'm irritated that I didn't remember it. So, and for the record, Ben, that's a lie. I do not mulligan my turns a lot. You are officially at the talking crap part of our evening. Not a thing. Here's the deal. I absolutely allow mulligans and encourage them, even especially in learning games or stuff, right? And if the game state hasn't changed, I think you should, right? Like, if there's no reason you can't go back, I do think that's the thing. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, so what it comes down to is hidden trackable information makes me feel dumb, which is why I get irritated, right? Like, just because it's a thing that I feel like I should have a better grip on and I don't. And I think that's why it's off-putting to me. I don't know. Maybe I just take stuff or take myself too seriously. That's a very real possibility too. I don't know. So, no problem, Ben. Yes, and my eyes do wander. It's because I'm watching the chat room and the video and BGG and Twitter. I have 2 monitors going. So if I'm looking all over the place, it's because I'm trying to keep an eye on all things. So, all right. So let's kind of first off, let's round the table on the Cubist scale, what we think about this, and then we'll kind of think of this as sort of the closing arguments part here. Okay. So I will start. I'm going to say that I think, and you're going to love this, I would give El Grande a play it, even though I don't like it, because I think that if what we have talked about sounds like something that you would like, you should try it. The guys are absolutely right. I think that it's a well-designed game that is just not my kind of game. So there you go. And also, Daniel, screw you. Damn it. The live chat is being terrible to me today. I do not, whatever. No. So anyway, I would give it a play it. But not because there's anything specific about the game that I like, just because I think it's probably fine. Brandon?
I would give it a play it as well, more or less because I've never bought it, and I can't tell somebody to buy something if I've never bought it.
We do that all the time on the show.
Oh, we do? Oh, okay.
Like, literally every week we tell people to buy a thing we don't own.
No, those are my games that I talk about.
There's a Kickstarter due it next month.
Okay.
Anyway.
Honestly, if you're one of those people who going back through the years and you're trying to catch up on everything that you missed and see what made a lot of these other games that you've played now recently, what they are, absolutely buy it and then play El Grande, and you'll see a lot of where modern board game design came from.
So and there is a big box version, right?
That yes, there is a new big boxed. Yeah,
right.
So with all the expansions, which we didn't touch on because none of us have played them that I know of.
I've played a couple.
Okay.
And, yeah. So, and I want to remind me to come back to the going through history thing after Patrick gets his, because I don't want to derail before we get to Patrick. Patrick, I wanted to save the best for last.
Sure. I'm actually going to set to play it also for a couple of reasons.
Wow.
One, because it's really not available. I've only played the original, so I had to buy mine used. I can't recommend the $100 big box if you've never played, for just to get the base game. And I haven't played all the expansions. I've played one or two of them, I think. One's just a different deck of cards, and one's like a little add-on board for Portugal, which was fine. But just find it and play it with somebody, and if you like it, or you can play it online. And like I said, on Boy Did You try it out. There's people that have it around you. I'm sure so just play it, give it a try, and then if you like it, you'll find it, because that's how actually I ended up mine. I always played Jim's copy, and then when the big box came out, a flood of the old ones went out onto the market because people were dumping theirs to get the big box. And I was like, I just want the regular one, so I found one cheap.
Yeah, I will say I'm looking on the geek market right now on BGG, and the prices are all over the map. If you're willing to pay for international shipping, it's not the end of the world to buy this. Like, you could get a copy for a fairly reasonable price, but you'll pay for the shipping, right? Like, but that is still doesn't bring it into a ridiculous price range, right? Like, I could see spending that much money on a game that I wanted.
It is a big box. I mean, not big box, but I mean, literally, it's right here. It's a larger than normal box for what it is. Sorry, you broke for a second there. Gotcha. Oh, the shipping is going to be a little more than normal. It doesn't fit into the normal, medium size $13 shipping box.
Sure.
Nowadays.
Yeah, no, I think you're so we all three gave it a play it, right? Even me, that I wanted to say something terrible about it, but I really can't. All right. So really fast, Brandon, you brought up a really good point, which is that I think that going back and playing the history of modern board gaming is kind of a valuable thing, right? Like, I think that even if it ends up not being for you, revisiting some of these original OG games and kind of understanding where games came from can give you some more appreciation for more modern stuff. I think everybody should play Kalis. Even though I freely admit that it is not the best worker placement game, even on my shelves, I absolutely think you should play it, because I think that it is a classic for a reason. And I think it still does some stuff that's kind of interesting. And there's layers in that one. As a matter of fact, expect Kalis to be another one of our deep dives coming soon, actually, because that's one. I was going
to say that's meaty.
That's you?
That's meaty. That's a meaty game. There's a lot in that game.
Yeah, for sure. I think that Kalis is one that I would definitely want to talk about. And part of the reason, and in the chat is saying, some people really like it, some people don't, and that's awesome. Because I think Kalis is matter of fact, Scott Nicholson was famous for how much he dislikes Kalis very early in the board games with Scott. Did you guys ever watch his show back when he was doing that?
Yeah.
His Kalis Commando skit is maybe one of the funniest skits I've ever seen in board gaming media. Is he did this like weird action movie montage thing of Kalis Commando, thing that was hysterical.
I mean, I've never seen that one.
Oh God, it's really good. You'll have to do a little bit of digging, but it was really funny stuff. But I think going back and playing those classics, so play, go back. Even if you've heard, even if everybody you know says that they hate Catan, you should try it. Everybody should play it once. Everybody should play it. It does some things that definitely informed other games past it. And there's a reason that there are still world championships for the game, and it's still one of the best selling. Right? It's still a good game, even if you feel like you have grown past it. I think Kalis is one. Tigris and Euphrates. That's the one that I don't know that I would necessarily say you need to play, because the rules are such a pain. Talk about a meaty game. That is one of the most gotcha rules infested games ever. Like, I like it, but I don't know.
The app helped.
The what?
The app helped.
Oh, playing it
helped me understand it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, and absolutely you should like Catan. It's a good game, Kathleen. But yeah, so I think that trip through history. What if there was a quote unquote classic, and we'll use as the definition of classic more than 10 years old. If there's one that you think doesn't get enough love that everybody should go back and play, what would it be? I'm picking Kalis. I think everybody should play Kalis at least once. What do you think? I didn't give these guys any prep on this one. So
besides El Grande?
Yeah, besides screw El Grande. We've already talked about that enough. Besides El Grande.
I did a whole tweet storm on this once. I'm trying to think of what some of the ones that were on there.
Keep stalling so I can not have
to I think Obelisk isn't old enough, is it? Well,
it's not 10. And Carcassonne isn't 10. Is it?
Carcassonne is absolutely 10. Carcassonne is like 15.
But everybody plays Carcassonne. It's not one that doesn't get any love.
That's I'm sorry. I love you guys. Scotland Yard. That's a really good choice, Brody. Well,
Shadows over Camelot old enough.
Shadows over Camelot. Camelot is absolutely old enough. Yeah,
that's a good Power Grid, but it gets a lot of love.
Well, no, I see. Shadows over Camelot is the introduction of the trader mechanic, right? Like that's the
right. It's a co-op with a trader command.
Yep, that's co-op with trader. Scotland Yard is the originator of hidden movement and the one versus many.
Kathleen says Iron Dragon. I mean, if you're gonna do crayons, you got to start with Empire Builder. But I do love Iron Dragon.
Actually, I would argue you should start with Eurorails.
I haven't done that one.
Eurorails is the map is just better. Like it's a more evenly done map that emphasizes. It's a better map for learning players to figure out how to do good routes on. Empire Builder is a map where if you have one person that's played it a lot, they will just clean the clock with people.
Get them, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Ouch. My only recommendation for Empire Builder is I know the geography and new people. It's like, you play Martian Rails or Lunar Rails or something like. I don't know where this made up city is. So
yeah. Well, and because we are U.S. citizens, the Empire Builder, the map is easier for us, right? Because we basically everybody knows where Boise is, but
right.
But for the rest of the world. But we also all know where Paris is, right? So like you can pull off Eurorails because you're only looking at usually 2 or 3 cities per country, and they're all cities you've heard of. It's pretty easy to do the geography on that one as well. So, and it is just flat out a better game. Yes, Elfenland is the one that you want, not Ticket to Ride. And New Yorkers don't know where Boise is. Well, that's your own fault.
I was going to say something. An old Knizia auction game would be perfect to go in, and if you haven't seen Raw or Modern Art or any of these auction games, so you can see how they don't have to be convoluted to be a lot of freaking fun.
I think Raw is the one that I would always point to because I think it has more of the laughing fun part than Modern Art does. Modern Art. It is a great game. I think Modern Art's probably the better game, but Ra is a little bit more accessible. So there you go. Yeah, I would strongly advise one of those trips through history, though. And this is the thing. Kathleen brought this up a long time ago in the live chat, and I want to hammer on this, is that the cult of the new has caused a lot of great games to fade. And partially it's because we are innovating and we're buying new pairs of shoes and we're throwing out the old shoes, right? Like some games have just been done better since then, but not all of them. There's a lot of I think Power Grid is still one of the best route building / auction games that's ever been made. I think it's really good. Other games have been done. I don't think anybody's done it as good as that. I think that there's something to be said about, like we said, raw and modern art and whatever too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right. So there's our old guy segment. Go back and play classic stuff. Yep. There you go. All right. Let's wrap this sucker up. Brandon, if people want to know more about you, where do they do?
Well, first off, we are proud members of Punchboard Media.
Yes. Oh, where we all bring something to the table. I never.
You're supposed to say it. You're supposed to follow that up and be just smooth, and I don't have to say anything.
I'm so not good at smooth, dude.
Come on. You've got the voice. I just throw things at you, and you go with it.
Yeah, you're the brains. I'm the voice. That's how this works.
We are proud members of Punchboard Media, where you can find all of our stuff, all of our content, including the Cubist and many, many others. But you can find me personally at What Did You Play This Week podcast, where we do a weekly contributor-based podcast talking about the games that we've been playing. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, all those normal places.
There you go. And that's, by the way, punchboardmedia.com.
Correct.
Is what you want. Check that out, because there's a lot of really great content there. So besides our lovely network, Patrick, where do people find you?
You can find me on What Did You Play This Week podcast. I also run our conversation show, which appears every couple of Wednesdays. Coming up soon will be your editor in charge, Daniel Newman. Just started working on the editing of that tonight. We interviewed him last week.
Thank you. And
I always enjoy that when we were talking about games that people play. I would say 50% of them, their instrumental hobby game was Magic, and the other half, say, Catan. So those two come up all the time in the conversation show.
D&D is a big one.
Oh, D&D too, yeah.
Leads into board games and things.
Yep. Man, how did we miss?
So anyway, and I'm Magic? On the Twitters at Over the Hillier.
Yes, you are. Hey, that reminds me. Before we talk, I'm gonna. Here's the time for all the Cubist plugs, and I want to start with Daniel's work. There is now an audio version of the show, and I don't think we hammer on this enough. Daniel Newman has single-handedly willed the existence of an unedited but awesome audio version of this show into existence on iTunes, and it has its own RSS feed. So if you go to the cubistpodcast.com/feed, I think is what it is, you can get it straight from there, or search for us in iTunes. So there's an audio version for your ear holes if you are an audio person instead and you're just watching this. Yes, there you go. Don't forget, thecubistpodcast.com is your one-stop shop for all things Cubist Podcast, including supporting us in the Patreon. By the way, big shout out to Ben Deathlop. I give him a lot of crap for being in the live chat, but Ben is very generous Patreon. We really appreciate it, Ben. Thank you so much. This is not a free thing. So if you enjoy what you see and you feel like making a small monthly donation, we always appreciate that on Patreon. If you are not a monthly donation person and you want to get something for your money, there is a shop on there where you can click on the shop button at the top of the cubistpodcast.com. That'll take you to our storefront where we have a brand new shirt designed by a friend of the show, Willie Hung. The new banana pants shirt, because people think it's funny that I call things banana pants all the time. So we made a shirt with banana pants on it, which is super meta. So go check it out. More merch on there. I love it when people buy the merch because it's cool seeing Cubist stuff out in the world. So hit that up. Thank you so much for all of your support. If you want to know more about the show, at Cubist Podcast on Twitter. I cannot stress this strongly enough. Watch those videos. I promise, keep up on there. I will post a link on the cubistpodcast.com, but go to twitter.com/cubistpodcast and watch those videos. You have a chance at an awesome prize that we will be giving away on next week's show, but you're going to have to watch all of the videos to come up with the clues to figure out what the contest is. There's no more hints besides those videos. So watch everything. You're going to like it. I promise. This is an awesome prize. So that giveaway will be next week on the show. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Personally, I'm at Bill Corey Jr. or Cubist Podcast. We love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. We will catch you all again next week. Be good.
Bye.
Peace out. Bye.